Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Fairfield City Hall. I'm Mayor Ed Malloy, and this is another edition of Inside Fairfield. This evening, we're going to talk about our big summer, great activities on the square, some of which got started just this past weekend, and some very exciting and thrilling events this summer. And to talk a little bit about what's planned and what's going to be coming up over the next couple of months. This evening I have my guests with me. On my right, Holly Moore from the First Fridays Art Walk Board, Andy Nelson with the Live on the Square and also proprietor of the car show that we just had this past weekend, and Dick DeAngelis from the Sophia organization, who is promoting and putting on the All Things Italian June 1st event. So good evening, everyone, and thanks very much for coming. Andy, I wanted to start with you. We are in our fifth season or sixth season of Live on the Square? Sixth season of Live on the Square, and I know we got it kicked off this past weekend. Tell us a little bit about what we had this weekend and what's coming up for the summer months.
We had our first, we had the 8th annual Showville's Car Show, which was on Saturday, May 26th. Unfortunately, it rained several times, but we did have some cars turn out, which was good. Then following that, we had our first event for Live on the Square concert series, which was Truck Stop Souvenir, and they were a country bluegrass duo. We moved them from the city square, which was slightly damp, into the old armory, and had a very good concert. It was kind of an intimate crowd. There was a lot of things going on in Fairfield that weekend. We had probably 50 or 60 people. So they got to play kind of a really intimate setting, but they had really great music, and I feel sorry for those people who missed it, because it was a great concert.
Great.
We did have that. One note about the car show, we did have a car from Lake Ozark, Missouri that drove all the way up, and somebody from New York that was driving through. So we had a group from Des Moines, a PT Cruiser Club, that came down. They contacted me earlier in the year and asked me if they brought 6 cars, would I create a class for them? And I did. And they ended up winning the Downtown Merchants Poker Walk. And so after the car show, they were the only ones left. I could see their cars all backed in funny, and they were walking the square and shopping. So it was a good day for the merchants to be open and us to do a tie-in that way.
Great. Great. Now we get into show number 2 this coming weekend, do we not?
Yes, we have our second show, which is the Funk Daddies, which is a 70s funk, Earth, Wind and Fire, Tower of Power band, tribute band, and they promised to be a very good show. I've already talked to Ken Duncan, the leader of the Funk Daddies. We were going to do a radio show on KRUU sometime this week, and another one on KISS FM. But they're excited to come down. They're going to play from 8 o'clock till 11 o'clock p.m. on Saturday night, and it's not going to rain.
Guaranteed.
Guaranteed.
Well, that's great, Andy. Just run quickly then through who else we have this summer.
We actually have quite a few events this summer. The main core events are always going to be the first Saturday of every month following our walk on Friday night. This one is coming up June 2nd, which is the Funk Daddies. And then on July 7th, we have Big Wooden Radio, which is a swing band from Iowa City. And then on August 4th, we have Orquesta Alto Maíz, the salsa band, which we've had many times before in Fairfield. And we took a break, but brought them back because everybody keeps begging, we got to bring them back. So we brought them back this year.
Well, Big Wooden Radio was here for, I think, our first or second year as well. They were one of our early rainouts.
Yes.
And I think we moved them up to Morning Star Studio, and there were maybe 100 people that got to see that. But I think everybody who did come up said, oh, we've got to have them back when we can have hundreds of people on the square to appreciate this. They're a great, also bluegrass band out of Iowa City, I believe.
Right, and I think all of the bands this year are from Iowa City.
Okay.
And our last band, September 8th, is Public Property, who were just here in the old armory playing. Chris Johnson brought them in, and they're a reggae ska band. So they're from Iowa City.
Great.
So we kind of looked all of Iowa City to come down and play in Fairfield.
Great.
But we do have some free events that were brought in part with Rustin Lippincott, the CPB director from Brigham Young University. They come to Nauvoo, and they're spending a couple weeks in Nauvoo, but they're playing the evenings and during the daytime, so we'll have them during the daytime. And so we'll have one, if you check out the website at fairfieldiowa.com, there is the Living Legends, which is a Polynesian dance company with all the outfits and everything. It's kind of neat. So it'll be at noontime, I believe on Saturday, June 11th, I think it is.
Okay.
And then we have one called the Ballroom Dance Company, which they have competed for 32 years and never been beaten at the national level. So, I mean, that's quite a tall
This will be an outdoor event as well?
outdoor event as well. They'll always be on the northern west quadrant of the square.
Great.
And then our last group is Vocal Point, which is a 9-person a cappella group. So we actually have 8 events going on from May 26th all the way to September 8th.
Fantastic. It's a great schedule, and I know that over the years we have expanded that schedule, and there's obviously a lot of good community support for this, and we really do appreciate it. It really does make our summer something that we can look forward to out on the square again. And those the benefits of that we'll talk about a little bit later when we talk about what's going to be going on in the downtown in terms of building out the streetscape elements and how all that came about because of the activities on our square. So Andy, thank you very
Well, I
much.
encourage everybody, this is one of the shirts. We made 200 of these shirts. And if you come to the concert, we're going to pitch out 50 of them at every major concert on the Saturday. So you have the potential of winning
I feel a little out of place that I don't have some sort of a T-shirt.
I just don't have mine on.
I know you've got one. Dick's got his Italian T-shirt on, so I'm
You
not.
get your shirt that says,
I'm
"I am
not
a mayor."
anything. That's no one will want. No one will want
but
one
that
of those.
tie is amazing.
The tie, though.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I
They
think
come with it with the tie.
this will be a good segue, Dick, because part of our great event coming up this Friday is another musical event in the middle of All Things Italian. Why don't you start talking about that particular band that's going to come down, and then tell us more about all of the activities that are going to be taking place.
Well, thanks. The band, we're going to do a few things different this year, and one of them is from 9 to 11, we're going to have a group called Bopology, and that's a 40s style swing band that's just off the charts, and we're bringing them in, and with the help of the merchants from all around Fairfield, who'll be recognized on the program that we hand out that night, we're able to bring in a real top-notch band. As a matter of fact, I was just looking at their schedule. They just appeared at Chicago White Sox game at Comiskey Park, and they're excellent. They have a crooner that's a real Sinatra-like voice, and I say that with deep respect to Sinatra.
So this
guy's really quite good.
So this will be how many pieces? It'll be horns.
It's
and-
six members, but they sound really fabulous. And we've got swing dance groups coming from several different cities in Iowa who are going to be dancing the night away on the square, and it's all free. So
Fantastic.
it's going to be a great completion to the All Things Italian Festival.
And you're going to be dancing off a lot of food that's a little bit consumed earlier.
It's like forced aerobics. It's going to be important that people bring their appetites on Friday, and then they'll enjoy the food and all the things we have to offer Friday, and then be able to dance it away Friday.
Now, I know last year, Dick, you really got a lot of cooperation from the restaurants on the square, and everyone did an Italian theme. And the other thing we remember from last year is that within the first hour and a half of the event, they sold out of food.
That's right.
What's the story going to be this year?
Yeah, that's right. Well, there's two categories. One is your main meals, kind of the sandwiches, pizzas, the lasagnas, and so on. And we've probably quadrupled the amount of food that's going to be available. The restaurants are now prepared for some serious. We probably had 2,500, 3,000 people or so last year, and this year we're expecting to outdo that substantially, weather permitting. And then we're going to have all the restaurants that were involved last year are going to be involved, but in a much bigger way this year. And there'll be dishes like lasagnas and eggplant parmesans and over and above the pizzas and specialty pizzas that will be
Sausage and
there.
peppers, I heard.
And then on the square, Hy-Vee is partnering with our group, Sophia, the Society of Fairfield Italian Americans, to put together a real, truly authentic sausage and peppers sandwich. Those that haven't had a sausage and pepper sandwich understand that it's on an Italian hard roll, which, although they have a fabulous bakery at Hy-Vee and really make a lot of things, they didn't quite have the art of the authentic Italian hard roll down. So over the last month, they've been working with me, and we've actually been refining the hard roll experience to the point where they've got it down. And then we've got pork sausage, turkey sausage, and then the actual peppers and onions and tomatoes that will, be cooked on a separate grill. And it's a fabulous sandwich, and that we'll have over 600 sandwiches we'll make that night.
And if it catches on, who knows, it becomes part of the regular menu at Hy-Vee.
Yeah, I think they're pretty excited about the fact that 3 or 4 people already have come in and said, "Do you have the hard rolls that you're going to make?" So they're doing a fabulous job and really are an excellent partner to have.
Great.
There are a lot of companies in Fairfield that have really stepped up and said, "Hey, we want to help you any way we can." That was a lot of fun last year, and so we're thrilled about that because this is a town experience, and now it's starting to get some publicity. We were just there was a big article in the Italian paper in Chicago, and this is not just a little paper; it's a monthly magazine, bigger than the Source like or something like that, and very complete, and has a lot of major companies that are involved in it. And they did a beautiful article. It was called Little Piazza on the Prairie. It was the name of the, and it was, I've already received, they left my cell phone number as a contact in there, and I received 3 or 4 calls already. And one guy said, "Hello, DeAngelis, I'm from Peoria. I got a few guys that want to come over to this all things Italian thing." And he goes, "Is it just one night?" I said, "Yes, it's just one night." He goes, "That's okay, we'll come down for one night." So anyway, it was a thrill to talk to this guy and tell him all that we're going to be playing bocce again on the square and have Italian games. This year we're going to also have one whole section of the square is going to be like walking into a piazza in Italy. So it's actually, they've got some big an entranceway with pictures so that you'll actually feel like you're walking in, and then there'll be different vendors selling flowers and fruit and showing marble displays, and there's someone coming from Des Moines. She's actually from Italy, and she's associated with the Iowa Sister States organization, and she's doing a pasta cooking demonstration right there. And not only a demonstration, she'll probably hand out 100+ samples of pasta with pesto sauce and so on for people to taste. So it's going to be, that's just a little tiny, and there's part of what's going to happen. Plus, someone you know very well, Mr. Mayor, is going to be helping us. A matter of fact, there's a whole group now called Team Cannoli. And Team Cannoli, if you have a Team Cannoli t-shirt, you're somebody really up there. And Team Cannoli will be about 20 people who will be making over 1,000 cannoli fresh on the square. And
Now, when you were here before the council, I made you define what a cannoli is. For those
How did
who
I
don't
do?
know what a cannoli is. You did fine. It's a pastry, and
yeah, it's a creamy filled pastry with, at the ends, you can put chocolate chips or pistachio. And it's not only a real delicacy, but it's tough to make them quite right, where the shell stays fresh. A lot of times people fill them early and sit them in a refrigerator, and they get soggy. And
another
nothing
hard
worse than a
shell. Another
soggy
hard shell
cannoli.
issue, right? Okay,
hard
but those
shell
are not. Next year we'll get Hy-Vee to tackle those.
We actually
shell.
we're working on that with them, but I really had a lot of fun. I walked into Walmart just the other day and was, I think I might have mentioned this to you, And somebody said to me, "You gonna have those cannoli?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "I sent my husband the other day, but I sent him for 3. He came back with 2 and told me that's all they had, but I don't believe him." She goes, "I think they had 3 and he ate one on the way home." She goes, "So I'm getting off and I'll be able to come." So we're really thrilled. People are coming from all over. People ask us, we're having another wine tasting. As a matter of fact, we're making it 2 wine tastings this year at Iowa State Bank, bringing in like 6 Italian wines from an importer in Chicago. We're having music on the square all night long. There'll be a Zamponia player again. Kiliano Anderson will come and sing again, the tenor, who everybody just loved. As well, he'll sing a few duets with a local soprano. Her name is Magda, and I've forgotten her last name, but she will be singing, and she's really quite good. And I think they'll be singing "The Prayer," which is the one that Andrea Bocelli and Celine Dion sung. That is really beautiful. So that's going to be remarkable. The dance troupe, the Italian dance troupe from Des Moines will be coming. So we're in, and then even during the night before the big concert, Popology will do a few little teasers, so we'll get a little taste of their
It's really hard to believe we're going to do all of this in 4 or 5 hours. So it's incredible, and I know your organization has been working on this since last year, and particularly in the last 3 to 4 months. So really, we want to thank you for all of that great dedication. And
we have a very good group.
I can't wait.
We have a good group, and we have inspired leadership from Holly, who was the reason we started this.
I have 2 things I need to say right out of the gate. One is that SOFIA, the Society of Fairfield Italian Americans, is they've set the bar so high for our partner collaborators for all our months of Art Walk. I can't thank them enough. This is what it should be like every month of the year, and these guys are just amazing, and we're so pleased to have them organizing all things Italian, and we're very grateful.
so when you say your partner collaborators, we're talking about collaborators with Art Walk, First
Right,
Friday's Art Walk,
right.
different themes for each month.
Exactly. If you go to our website, which is fairfieldartwalk.com, under upcoming, you can see all the different art walks we have planned for the next 12 months. And there's different themes covering different art forms for all of them. And we're very fortunate that we actually have 7 different partner collaborators. These are different groups and organizations, and in one case a local store and what have you, the Chamber and Iowa State Bank among some of these people, who are going to take a whole year to plan one art walk, similar to what Sophia does, as opposed to the art walk volunteers, because our schedule's a tad relentless. We crank them out, This will be our 57th consecutive art walk this month. And we have X amount of resources, but if we get our partner collaborators in, they can take the whole year to fund it, to plan it, to really develop a particular month of Art Walk. So Sophia, again, came out of the gate last year, setting the bar so high for everyone, and we're all aspiring to that level, but we're very, very grateful. The other thing I want to say is it will not rain this weekend. We have had, last month, in 56 months of Art Walks, was our first inclement weather, and we had to move our activities on the square indoors to the old armory. And so I figure odds are we've used that up, and so now we're ready for nothing but good,
56 good
another
months.
56 good months of great weather. So, but all of our galleries and art venues are also jumping in on this too. The CVB's been great. They gave Sophia a grant to help fund this, which is very needed. I mean, you can only imagine the costs involved in something like this. And but all our galleries are jumping in. They all have some little Italian theme activity going on. The Artisans Gallery, which is the cooperative gallery, has the Mona Lisa contest, and I was in there today, and they already have the entries starting to come in. It's very exciting. The people doing their take on the Mona Lisa, and there'll be an exhibit of that. And different foods, like in some of our venues and what have you. The other thing that I'm very excited about is as we all know, First Friday's Art Walk is a nonprofit educational organization. We're running up until now entirely by volunteers and on the donations from people. But we're going to do our first little mini fundraiser, launch it this month, and we've developed, I don't have it on like Dick does, but our very first Art Walk t-shirt. And for a $20 donation, you can walk away with one of these beautiful t-shirts. It's 100% cotton. What you're looking at is a painting by John Preston, one of our local artists who allowed us to use this gorgeous painting on there. And the donation will go towards operations and all the different expenses that we have with running Art Walk. So I hope you'll stop by one of the information booths and help us out with our first little fundraising attempt to keep ourselves
Great.
going.
Well, that's wonderful, and I don't think something like All Things Italian could really take place unless there was already a precedent for utilizing our square in the great social way that we do. And really, thanks to you, Holly, and all of your board members for everything that you've done putting on all of these events. And also, Andy, with the Live on the Square and that continuation and the coupling of events with First Friday's Art Walk really makes for a big weekend in our city. And we know
Tourism
that-
weekends.
Tourism weekends, absolutely. And this is what we envisioned years ago when we talked about this in our strategic plan, building on the events we already have, the success. There's really just too much interest in people in different ways to celebrate, to really just focus on one event as a lot of other communities do. So I think we've really found our stride and really found a niche. I wanted to mention also, just before we sign off, because we do have a council meeting to begin, that is that we have some new drawings in right now from French Reniker and Associates of our downtown streetscape elements, and construction on those will be beginning very soon, within the next 30 to 60 days. As you see in the illustrations, that's a corner, one of the corners of the square. You'll see where it is built out to encompass new plantings, some nice brickwork design, all of those other matching elements of benches and street trees. And it's really very, very exciting. I think that because we've been so successful in all the areas that you all represent, it was really time to give the necessary facelift and actually this redesign of our downtown to really match and befit the dignity of the celebrations that we have down there. And you're all to thank for all that you put in, and we want to do our part with the streetscape designs, and we're very, very excited about those.
Thank you for the help that you've given us, Mr. Mayor, and the council. We really appreciate it. I do want to especially thank Rustin Lippincott. He kind of hit the road running with the CVB, and it's been real helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to have that professional organization behind everything that we do now, and that really assures us that that's going to grow.
You know, another person to really thank is Pam Kraft from the Parks Department.
Oh, yes,
They
Pam.
keep City Square looking clean, mowed,
Oh,
trimmed.
beautiful.
Without that, you couldn't do an event in such a beautiful place, so.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Andy. It's our Parks Department, it's also our Street Department and what they do in a lot of ways. And really, as a total community, we are committed to this, and it is paying great dividends thus far. So thank you all very much for joining me this evening. And I want to thank you all for joining us for another edition of Inside Fairfield. We will continue in about 5 minutes. We'll just take a brief break here with our City Council meeting. Ask you to stay and join us for that as well. Until next month, Mayor Ed Malloy saying thank you very much for joining us on Inside Fairfield.
Do what you need to do. Good.
We'll call a meeting to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Hamilton?
Here.
Rubis?
Here.
Pippin?
Yes.
Boyer?
Yes.
Adam?
Yes.
Revelinsky?
Yes.
Welty?
Yes.
Yeah, I have one addition to Mayor's report. We'll be swearing in a new police officer this evening. Are there any other changes or additions? If not, we'll move to our consent agenda. Just 3 items tonight. Approval of the minutes from the May 14th council meeting. Also approval of a Class A liquor license for the Elks Club. And approval of claims in the amount of $148,439.02.
I had a comment about the minutes, because I just wanted to make sure everybody takes a look at the last page where it says the 3 people as a committee to pursue a quiet zone within the city of Fairfield. Now, if everybody approves of that, that's fine, but it would annul that resolution that we made a couple years ago not to pursue a quiet zone in Fairfield. So I just want to make sure that if this is not what we want to say, then we say that, that we're collecting information to pursue a quiet zone.
That's the motion you made, to collect information.
Right, I made the motion to collect information, so...
I think this, again, this is an exploratory committee that's continuing ongoing work, and if there's any changes, the changes will be made by a new resolution, certainly some things by ordinance. I don't see any conflict.
Well,
A motion can't overturn a resolution anyway.
okay, so we'd have to, I believe we'd have to adjust the minutes to reflect,
What?
unless I don't.
I'm not sure I understand how you want them adjusted.
It says concerning the possibility of
Well,
establishing a
it-
quiet zone. Doesn't say we're gonna do that.
In the motion, though, on the last page, it says,
What is you, Christie, do you have a proposal? Do you have a, I'm not sure exactly what you're asking. What's your proposed change?
well, the motion was to have the committee to collect information on pursuing a quiet zone. But if people would rather have the wording that is said right here, that's fine with me too. I just thought it might be in conflict with our earlier resolution.
So you'd say pursue information for a proposed quiet zone?
Sure, that would work too.
That would work for me, that's only...
If you're making that motion, I'll second it.
I'll move it, yeah.
Move to amend the minutes by Hamilton, second by Boyer. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign. Now, enough of those. As amended then, we'll ask for the other three items in our consent agenda to be considered. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move to approve consent agenda.
Moved by Hamilton,
Second.
second by Rubus. Please call the roll.
Hamilton.
Yes.
Rubus.
Yes.
Adam.
Yes.
Welty.
Yes.
Dugan.
I'll abstain on the basis I wasn't present.
Revelinsky.
Yes.
Boyer.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll move to a hearing of those wishing to address the council, and we have Mary Vargas, who is here for two different issues. Mary, if you could come up and address them both.
RJ.
I'm sorry?
It's pronounced RJ.
RJ, thank you.
Do I have to talk into that?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, the first one is on lights. Is it working? And I just have run into this
Mary,
for
can you
quite a
tell
while.
us your address?
Pardon?
Your address?
300 East Low Avenue.
Okay.
With the street lights or anybody else's lights, I would just like to request the right to have privacy, for a citizen to have a little more privacy. And I mean, I do appreciate lights and street lights. It's just that, you know, my house is lit up like a stage. And then I was looking at another house. I've lived in that house 7 years, and it just happens to be in the same position. And I was just wondering if there could be some kind of ring or something that would could be manipulated a little bit so that it would go on the public areas rather than on private property.
Okay.
I think probably in larger cities this issue's come up before. And I have noticed a few streetlights around that go on and off. I don't know if someone requested that. I noticed one on Kirkwood, as if it had a motion detector, or maybe it's just
My
got
guess is it's a
wire.
bad connection.
Okay, I didn't think that was really
Might be
an
lucky
appropriate
enough to get one of those, huh?
spot, but,
Well, John, have we ever had a request to shield backside of streetlights to keep it off of private areas?
No, and given the several thousand that you probably have in the city, it would probably be fairly expensive for it.
well, maybe you could just do it on a per request basis.
Is there any other houses right around there, or you've got a big lot? I mean,
I am on a corner.
That's usually where we put streetlights, is on corners so people can see.
We could research it with the idea that, you know, if a property owner requests it and wants to pay for it, it could be available. Just a thought.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what kind of device it would be.
Well, with the type of lights that we have, there's not a lot. Remember, we went through that with the environmental committee at one point in time, and their recommendation was to use a lower
right.
set light that has more concentration into the areas where you need them, instead of having the light go
Broadcasting,
everywhere around
right.
it.
And that
Those
might even-
were several $1,000s per location, if I remember. It would have been fairly expensive to redo them. We were talking about the downtown area.
Right.
But-
Well, we were, yeah, specifically, but I mean, again, I'm open to at least researching it, because we might come up with something, like you say, maybe just lower the existing light where it is or something, and if we had a property owner who wanted to pay for that service in nearby, if it was still as effective. But yeah, to redo the lights.
Trees work really well too.
Yeah. They
take a while to grow.
Yeah, put up your own barrier by trees, yeah.
Well, but the thing is, one tree by the light works, but the person that's receiving the light has to put up about, 10, 20 trees. Or I have, believe me, I have put some trees up. And I ran into a situation with a private property, the Virginia apartments, where I asked them, with their big light, because at night in the summer I want to go out and sit, and I have to, go like this. And, I even offered to pay for a light that, lower it or whatever, but I didn't get any cooperation on that.
But I think, John, if you'd be willing to have your committee do a little research on that and report back to the council.
It's fine with me.
Okay, great. Okay, and your next issue?
The next issue is one that is a little damaging. I just happened to be a little bit downhill of my neighbor, and all of a sudden my garage was flooding, and it is low, granted. But I finally figured out by just putting up a little berm, and I didn't know if it was coming from the alley or what, but it turns out it's coming from my neighbor's property. And I guess he pulls all his drain pipes, the tiles around to drain. Originally, they all drain between our two houses, which when you're downhill is not between, it's me. And so, but I think one of the owners did put some tiles in that went every other which way. But the two front ones still twist around and, go down the hill, and then there's one that is just like right aimed at my garage, and it's just not neighborly, for one thing, and I will raise my garage up, but I still don't want I don't want to have to deal with my neighbor's water. I have so much water of my own to deal with, and so I'm asking for some protection. There's no bylaw in the city of Fairfield, but I happened to run it by my brother, who works for the city of Portland in the water department. I just was, talking, and he gave me some wording that was really good. He said you're not allowed to direct or divert water onto your neighbor's property. So that covers slope, right? You're not allowed to direct or divert water onto your neighbor's property.
Myron, isn't there a state law?
That's already the law in Iowa.
Yeah.
But
Okay,
it's a
well, I
private
looked,
matter
I
between
couldn't-
private property owners. Between
Civil.
private property owners, your rights are governed by that law. A person cannot divert water onto your property and cause you a water problem. I'm not trying to give you legal advice here, but it's, in terms of coming to the city council, there's really nothing that the city can do between private property owners and the diversion of water between those two properties. That's something you probably are going to have to discuss with your neighbor. And in the event that you don't get a satisfactory response from your neighbor, you probably would have to seek legal advice and do something to accomplish that between the two of you, because the city really doesn't have the authority to govern the conduct between the two of you. But there is a law in place that does restrict a property owner's ability to divert water and cause problems for a neighbor. So I think that's already in place in the state.
Have you
Okay,
talked to your neighbor about that?
Yes, and unfortunately, he's a new owner, you know, and so he was a little overwhelmed. But first I just mentioned it, and then I waited 3 weeks, and then I I gave him a nice note in person and said, you know, please amend your drain pipes so your water does not drain onto my property. And then I didn't get a response for, I don't know, I forget. Anyway, then I gave him a letter that had timelines, like, that I needed as intention in writing to, to fix the problem. The intention in writing within 72 hours, and then to correct it within 1 month, 30 days. I thought that was fair, but, and I said otherwise legal steps will be taken. So, I mean, what can I do? It's a reasonable request.
Yeah, I think you've done exactly what anybody would think is reasonable.
Yeah.
And if those requests are not being heeded by your neighbor, then you may have to take the legal action.
Yeah.
That may be your own.
Well, I noticed the one call guy was out today marking, the water and the pipes, so maybe he is going to do something, but it'd be nice if he'd tell me.
All right, well, thank you very much. And
Okay.
We'll do what we can, particularly on this issue. We'll do some research and see if there's something that we can
Well,
do.
is there some reason one city is able to have bylaws governing water and another isn't, or?
Well, the state of Iowa regulates certain things. I assume you're talking about Portland, Oregon, and I'm sure Oregon has different laws than Iowa does.
Okay.
You-
All right,
the
and I
laws are-
did briefly look through the Iowa law. I didn't catch the one that you're speaking of, but, it takes some study. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, next we'll move on to our public hearing to amend our 06-07 budget, and we'll declare the public hearing open at this time. John, if you will walk us through what our amendments are here.
As I believe I mentioned at the last council meeting, the primary impact here is the fact that we sold bonds and then retired short-term warrants that we had outstanding. I had budgeted that for the prior fiscal year. We did not get the bond sold until August and didn't close until actually September. So you see almost $8 million in other financing sources. Those are your bonds. We did receive a little bit more in federal reimbursement on the airport than I anticipated. So that's 8.6 million of the 8.7 million projected revenue increase. I did take each of the functions up a little bit. Hopefully everyone will run under, but you are supposed to amend your budget before you run over. So I'm trying to cover us a little bit there. In the expenditures that you see, the main area, capital projects, $3 million, that is primarily due to retiring those short-term warrants. I think it was a little over $3 million, but some of our other projects have run under, so I'm only proposing to take it up $3 million in that area. The good news is we have more cash on hand at the end of the year than we did when we started, and that's because we've financed our long-term projects that we've fronted the money on. So I'll try and answer any questions on this.
Council, any questions on the proposed amendments? Okay. If
Does
not,
any of this take into consideration the change in valuation of the one business property?
No, that's
Or
next year, next fiscal year.
Okay,
We're
this is
trying
just
to amend the
amending
fiscal
the
year
ending fiscal
ending June
year,
30.
June 30th. Okay.
If there isn't any public comment, we'll declare the public hearing closed, and council, ask what your wish is regarding the amendment of the 06-07 budget.
Move we approve the amendment as proposed.
Moved by Gookin,
Second.
second by Boyer. Any other discussion? Now, please call the roll.
Gookin.
Yes.
Boyer.
Yes.
Revelinsky.
Yes.
Rivers.
Yes.
Adam.
Yes.
Hamilton.
Yes.
Welty.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll move on to the second reading of ordinance 1025. Council, this is the water rates
Same question.
and charges amending that ordinance.
We didn't have it, so.
Anyone received any public comment on that or any other questions? Not entertain motion.
Again, this just lowers the top. It doesn't affect any of the lower rate structure. So there won't be any increases with rates for anyone. It's just over 401,000 cubic foot. We have put in a new tier for service. So I just want to make that note again.
Thanks for pointing that out, Darren.
Do I remember correctly that once we approve this ordinance on the rates, then we go into the new contract with Rathbun? Or was it the other way around?
No, we've already entered into the contract with Rathbun. They will be coming on board sometime in June.
Okay.
So by the time they're on board, these rates will affect them.
Okay.
And again, their contract, they're anticipating they draw from us during the summer months. It won't be every month that they reach that, so that's why they also have a minimum in their contract. And
Right.
they'll
And their
pay us.
proposal was for July, August, and September, probably the high 3 peak usage months of a year.
Okay.
So,
And there is a cap on how much they can take.
right.
So in case we get into a bind, we can back them off.
Is that tap installed as we speak?
I said a cap.
No, but the tap that where
They're working on the tap right now, they're building the system. Their schedule was June 1st, and I would anticipate they'll probably not be too far away from that.
Thanks, John. Any
Move to
other
approve ordinance number 1025.
for the second to the third reading?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Darren.
Second.
Second by Gookin. Any other discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Hamilton.
Yes.
Gookin.
Yes.
Welty.
Yes.
Rubus.
Yes.
Revelinsky.
Yes.
Boyer. Yes. Adam.
Yes.
Okay, John, if you would then continue with your city administrator report.
The first item I have this evening is I submitted a copy of a proposed change order on another one of my long-going projects. This is the 2006 water distribution project. If you recall, towards the end of last year, we added another block to that project. So there was some additional costs in terms of bonds. This would increase the contract price by $1,173.
Council,
Hopefully, we will be accepting that project fairly soon.
entertain a motion then to accept the change order for the 2006 water project.
So moved.
Moved by Boyer,
Second.
second by Hamilton. Any other discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Boyer.
Yes.
Hamilton.
Yes.
Revelinsky.
Yes.
Rubus.
Yes.
Adam. Welty.
Yes.
Gookin.
Yes.
The next item at this point is a matter of information. I have two properties that I talked to the city attorney about, initiating condemnation proceedings. I bring it to the council so you might make yourself aware of these properties, check them out before any action comes before you. One is an ongoing nuisance that we've had at North B Street, 604 North B Street. It's an absentee owner at one point who was living in there with no utilities, removed a portion of the foundation of the house. The house is not falling down by any means, but it's not a sealed structure. I don't know how many times we've been down to mow with some of the storms we've had. We've had trees come over, so it's kind of a mess, and the neighbors are a little bit irked. So I have requested the city attorney to begin condemnation proceedings as a public nuisance on 604 North B Street. The second property is a little more recent. Again, has been an ongoing problem. In fact, at one point we had to evacuate the building due to concerns by the state fire marshal. A portion of the back wall, or a portion of the back of the building has been torn down. There's a freestanding wall where the electric service comes in. The owner was notified to tear that down or repair it and has not done so. So I'm also asking the city attorney to proceed with some action against him.
Could I also ask on this second one, he also owns property on West Jackson, that there's been some processes started. And I think he was instructed to clean up that property, and basically what he's done is move in some construction materials in an old junk truck, and that's it. So I was there this morning. The construction material has tarps on it, water standing all over, mosquitoes breeding, junk all over the yard. windows broken out both in the trailer and in the house, so do you know what stage are we at on that property?
His building permit has been revoked.
Okay.
He has so many days, probably 30, I don't recall the exact, to either remove, or we will be back to you to remove it. He does have the right to appeal to the Board of Adjustment. I have not heard that yet.
Okay.
But his permit has been revoked, so we are in the process of trying to shut the whole thing down.
Great.
Is this the one where they was gonna hook a trailer house onto a
Correct.
house?
Yes.
And 302 East Burlington is the brick structure, isn't it?
Yep.
Right?
It's
Yeah.
not brick, I don't
How's that?
think. Yeah.
Oh,
The back,
Two doors
the back
away from-
definitely is, you need to go in the rear of that property.
Two doors
From the
away
front,
from
it
fire.
doesn't look too bad. From the rear is where we're having the problem with the electrical service. And again, we have been in that structure, and again, we did have to order an evacuation.
I remember that.
We've had complaints on this property, to these two properties for, it's got to be
Years.
10 years. So,
Has there been any response from the owners?
Well, no, that's why I'm here talking to you.
Right. Uh-huh.
okay, John, so that is for reporting only?
Yes,
Thank you.
because there will be legal proceedings you will probably have to act on to initiate. The next item is probably regarding one of my least favorite companies at this point, and I say it not because of service or anything, but the entire town has been destroyed. Linda will hate me, but we have 2 easements for Lisco.
You're right, she will,
Right,
John.
she will.
You can take a joke. You gave them a franchise to operate in right-of-way. There are a couple areas where they need to put up some of their little, they're not called substations, but they're little boxes where they're junctions. One is on North B Street, and that's the first one that should be in your list. This would be located immediately north of where the parking lot is, where the trail exits onto B Street.
Oh, they have the slab there already.
By the entrance to,
They already
And
put
they
their
wanna put
slab
one
in
of those
there,
little-
yeah.
Well, they wanted to put it in the prairie, but there was some objection to that. They wanted to put it on the south side, so they moved it to the north side.
I noticed the slab there this morning when I went by there. So.
So this will house a little junction structure for them north of that. Then the second one is down at the intersection of Park and Fillmore. It's actually just north of the entrance into Lamson Woods. Part of it, they're showing as on right-of-way, but there's about a roughly 20-foot section or so that goes on to the Lamson Woods. And then you come back down to the south, I'm sorry, it's the south of the, this addition, there's, to the south of the driveway is where the structure will be, but they do need to get into that north part to do some trenching. So they're requesting easements on both those parcels.
And these are both city properties? Or
Yes.
are they in the rights of way already?
Pardon?
Are they in the rights of way already?
Well, where they're putting these boxes are outside of the right-of-way, but on city property. For instance, the first one's on Waterworks pond land, and the second one's on Lamson Wood.
John, do you have the dimensions of the box they're putting up?
It should show there, doesn't it?
Looks
Oh.
like 8 by
8
12.
by 12 on the one down at the south end, and looks like 8 by 12 on the other.
I don't see that. Oh.
How
If you look on
tall?
that second page,
And it doesn't say the height?
does not say the height. Are you familiar with the telephone boxes?
Yeah.
I think they'll be about that high.
4 feet high or 4 feet high.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
first one on North B is going to be a little bit larger. It's 8 by 12. And, oh, I guess it is the same thing. 8
I
by
think they're
12.
both 8 by 12.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm missing a page here, but,
So they're not going to be little.
oh, it's this
by
thing.
any means.
Yeah, there are 2 separate easement documents there.
I see.
It looks like there's already landscaping around the North B Street one. Or- trees?
It's going to be right in the lot? I'm not exactly getting
No,
my
it's going
bearings
to be
here.
north of the driveway and west of the lot. It's kind of a ditch area, really.
West of the lot and north of the driveway.
See the light area there is the
This
lot.
Okay, I got it. All right. I got it.
And then the trail is to the north.
Right.
Do these need to be taken care of separately, or can they be done together?
As far as I'm concerned, they can be done together, but if the council has some issues with them, they should be taken separately.
Was these asked for in the original lease when we granted? These are in addition to that, you didn't know they was gonna do this.
No.
And so there isn't any added money for this. This is just goodwill. Goes with the franchise, because
Well, yeah, I would say it's goodwill. I mean, your franchise doesn't ask, you don't actually impose, you impose a franchise fee on them, but that's for the use of the right-of-way. This is separate, and no, there's no consideration.
nope.
Are they in a serious time crunch, or
I
do
would
they-
say so.
Move to approve the request for the two easements from Wesco.
Second.
Moved by Gookin, second by Rubus. Any other discussion? Now, please call the roll.
Goodwin.
Yes.
Rubus.
Yes.
Adam.
Yes.
Welty.
Yes.
Hamilton.
Yes.
Boyer.
Yes.
Strolinski.
yes?
Again, the final item at this point is a matter of information, and I don't know how much information I can give you. I assume that you are aware of the situation with the reduction in valuation, which will have a negative impact in terms of our revenues on a budget that's already been certified. We have not got a clear answer yet on which levies this will affect. You have two different kinds of levies. You have fixed levies, the most important of which is in your general fund, which provides the bulk of the money for your police, fire, library, park and rec type operations. Then you have those other levies that aren't fixed, such as your debt service, employee benefits, and those sorts of things. At the very least, it appears that the general fund will suffer a reduction of somewhere between $105,000 and $110,000, which is a fairly significant amount of money. It could be upwards of almost $220,000 if it affects all the levies. If it affects all the levies, you're going to be in a really severe cash flow position that will affect you profoundly. Even if you don't get hit with all that, you're still got a general fund problem. So after this meeting, I would like to meet with the Ways and Means Committee. This came up late, not last week, but the week before. We did try and schedule a meeting, but haven't got a chance to get together. I would like to schedule something for this week to discuss what your recommendations are going to be to address a big hole in your budget.
Where did this error stem from? Was it on county level, state level?
All I can give you is that it apparently was a valuation error made at the local level on industrial property. I believe it was valued at $14.6 million and should have been valued at $1.5 million. So again, I don't have all the final information, but it's something that we do need to address as soon as we can before the fiscal year starts. So if we could have a committee meeting.
Well, thanks, John. We'll get the Ways and Means Committee together after that and see what prospects there are. I don't think there's any going backwards on this. So we have the situation to deal with, and we'll just deal with it as best we can. Is that everything, John?
Yes.
Okay, thanks very much. Council, I do not have a board appointment for this evening, but I would like to introduce our new police officer, Matthew Good. Maybe have Chief Cooksey introduce him, and then we'll swear the officer in.
Thank you, Mayor. Matt, if you'd stand, please. This is Matt Good. He is the officer that is replacing Officer Steve Cummings. His first day was today, and He had a lot of information given to him in a very short period of time today, so I would ask you to please welcome him, and thank you, Matt, for showing an interest in the city and the department, and welcome aboard.
Matthew, come up and join me here. Here. Oath of office. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, state your name.
I, Matthew Good,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the State of Iowa,
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa,
and that I will faithfully and impartially,
and that I will faithfully and impartially,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
discharge all the duties of police officer
discharge all the duties of a police officer
in the city of Fairfield,
in the city of Fairfield,
as now and hereafter required by law.
as now and hereafter as required by law.
Congratulations, and welcome to the force. The council will also make just a brief report that we have had a formal engagement or meeting with the Great Places Board, and we've learned that each of our individual projects are going to be now submitting new grants, all individual grants. We had 19 different elements within our original application. Many of the other cities had 3. So we have trimmed that down to about 6 that we'll be applying for. One of the restrictions is that the dollars have to go towards vertical infrastructure, which basically means building stuff. So our streetscape project is kind of coming together. We're fine-tuning what it is that we're actually going to be applying for. But we did have a meeting this afternoon with Jerry Long from French Rent-A-Car, John Brown, Connie Boyer, and myself. And we are sort of narrowing that down. The grants are due June 15th. We will know July 1 how we will fare in terms of that grant process. But I did, at the end of the meeting, if you'd take a minute just to look at the drawings, that we do have some new drawings on the elements of the streetscape. Very inspiring. So do take a look at those on your way out. Yeah, this was work that French Rent-A-Car has done, so we're very pleased with that, and actually we're going to see a lot of these things get started very, very soon. John, what's the schedule for the street work in front of the Civic Center on Main Street, where we will actually start to build some of those initial nodes out?
We would anticipate hopefully starting in September for that work.
For that,
We've got to get it bid.
Okay, all right. Very good, that's all I have this evening, and it looks like we have a property committee report. Ron?
Property committee met on May 15th, and we had a application from a gentleman, I can really pronounce his name for a change. not my brother, Richard Adams at 405 South Court, and he's going to build in a garage there.
Adirondack.
Lawn chairs.
The Adirondack Mountains, Ron, in
Cool.
New York State.
Lawn chairs, and anyway, we did check with the neighbors around him, and it is our duty on these home occupation permits, FYI, to protect the residential neighborhood. And so I did make contact with all the neighbors, and every one of them didn't have a problem with him doing that. So property committee recommends that we approve this.
Okay. A motion to approve the home occupation permit of Richard Adams.
By Adam.
Second.
Second by Boyer. Any other discussion? Not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign. Thank you. Any other business before the council? Not, we'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Moved by Welty, second by Gookin. What you want? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign. Meeting adjourned.